Joining me now is Ryan Horvat. Hey, bud.
Hello. Hey, how's it going?
How you been?
I've been good. I was in a good mood this morning. Told you I wanted to hop on the podcast because I have big news regarding the Green Bay Packers. Wanted to talk some college football. And then right before we're jumping on to record, you tell me that you're going to play a voicemail where some guy from my own home city is going to shit on me and he hates me or something like that. So now I'm confident, curious, whatever Sparky likes to say about what the heck's going on here.
It was a voicemail that came in on the Carl's Place voicemail line.
Oh.
carlovet.com/Bart. You can fit a golf simulator in that house of yours. In that
Mine?
Yeah.
No. But it's the final year on my contract, and then I plan on buying a house, and so I'll wait and maybe do that next year. But yeah, that's the plan. Get me in touch. I'm definitely in. But not in the apartment, I don't know. I definitely could. Problem is my kid's always running around. Anyway, tell me more. I'm intrigued.
So Tyler, I don't even think that he is reacting to something you said on here. It might have been on the infamous Kurt and Long podcast or your tweets about whatever.
Wait a minute. Hold on. If he's from Chicago, is he a Bears fan? Because I've been doing nothing but hyping the Packers up. So I don't know where Tyler.
No, he's a Packer fan.
Okay, then
I played this the other day on the show, but you need to hear it.
Oh, Jesus.
And I wouldn't do it if I didn't think. I feel like you need to. I feel like he is accusing you of being a lot of things you're not. So here we go.
Everything. I think I figured him out. He is every sports Illinois person that is looking for identity over the past 20 years, and Horvat has some sort of connection to Wisconsin. And I know a few of these people, and there's some awesome Packers fans in the Chicago area. But Horvat's changed. Something's changed. I don't care about T. Higgins. The idea that you draft T. Higgins over Jordan Love, the odds of that are so small. He was the third wide receiver of that draft, and somehow Horvat randomly knows and has to hate the Packers organization because of it is beyond me. So I figured it out. He is Gary Wolfel of the Packers now. He already has an inside track. He can destroy us from within. And guess who his favorite quarterback right now is? Justin Fields. I think he's a closet Bears fan. I don't think this is going to stop till someone calls him out. And I am exactly the person to do it. Bart, longtime listener, if you're my favorite person out there, if you're ever at Will's Northwoods Inn, your tab is on me.
All right, nice. Free tab.
I think what we should do is me and him should box for charity. I'll be home.
Yeah, why don't you guys fight?
I'll be home in Chicago actually Saturday. We could set it up, and I'll box him. 10 rounds.
You got that? When you get pissed, there's something that happens with your lip and your nose, and it's happening.
I'm not even pissed. I'm just saying.
You're ready to fight.
Like, who the fuck just calls up and just starts? This is why I hate. This is why I consider do I even want to do this bullshit anymore, dude? Because it's like, who the fuck is this guy accusing me of what? Dude, go back and I've been, this. Like when Justin Fields was at Ohio State, we were doing a show. I was doing the college football show with Don and them, and I love Justin Fields. And then I was like, motherfucker. We even said this during the draft. We're like, not the Bears, because we want to like Justin Fields. And then the Bears drafted Justin Fields. So, this is the thing. I get older, and I still love the Packers, and I'm going to root against Justin Fields. I might bet on him. I honestly feel better about the Bears than I do about the Lions. I feel like the Lions are being hyped up a little bit too.
I don't know. I've been very pro Justin Fields, but I am starting to think maybe he does stink.
And maybe he does, but I don't know. My biggest bet in the NFC North.
When people are like, "Oh, he's a running back. Oh, he's whatever," I was like, "No, Justin Fields is good. I saw him be good. He was good at Ohio State. He threw the ball all the time." The Bears are.
Yeah, well, the problem though at Ohio State, the one thing though is he was a one-read quarterback. You know what I mean? He couldn't get to that second progression, and in that offense, you know what I mean? Look who he was throwing the ball to. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, that's okay, Tyler. You could hate me for no reason and shit all over me. That's okay, buddy. Even though I don't know who you are. He could have just actually, like, you know, said all that to me.
Gary Wolfel of the Packers. Do you have a response to that?
That's kind of what pissed me off a little bit. Like, if he was just like with the T. Higgins stuff, I'm fine with that. I was really, as you know, though, I really like T. Higgins at Clemson. The problem is I watch a lot of college football. So like I fall in love with dudes that I think Green Bay should take. And then when they pan out and end up being future Hall of Famers.
Oh, and you did say a slight connection to Wisconsin. Horvat's grandpa called the Braves winning the World Series on.
My grandpa was actually Gordy Gillespie. His brother did that. His name was Earl Gillespie. That was
your uncle, your grandpa, your uncle.
I don't even hate this narrative that I hate Jordan Love because I didn't want Jordan Love when Aaron Rodgers was under contract for 4 more years and wasn't going anywhere. I didn't see the reason to draft a backup quarterback. And I wanted to see what Jordan Love could be in the league, even if he's going to be a project. Like, I want to see what Anthony Richardson is. I'm curious. I didn't think it was fair that Jordan Love had to sit behind some hippie for 4 years, even if I love the guy. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? It probably was the best thing to happen to Jordan Love, though, to be honest with you. You don't get that in the NFL anymore. Guys aren't drafted into good situations like Green Bay. Guys are drafted into terrible situations. That's why everybody's like, oh, CJ Stroud sucks. Does he, or is he playing for the Texans and he went against Bill Belichick and the Patriots defense in his first preseason game? Bryce Young had no offensive line at all, which is weird because that's supposed to be the Panthers' one of their strengths coming into the season. Anyway, I'm not the Gary
on right now. This is also on the Dan Schani YouTube stream. Dan Schani Insurance, work, home, car, whatever you need insurance on. Dan will help you out. Dan will be at the tailgate. I'm doing a Brewers tailgate. But all I can focus on is you have a very nice tan face, and I look like a strawberry.
Yeah, I've been by the pool a lot. That's why. Because
why is my face so red? Is it the lighting?
Did you have a couple cocktails last night?
I don't think that's relevant.
Let's run back the NFC Championship game from a couple of years ago against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where let's remind everybody that Green Bay wins that game if David Bakhtiari doesn't get hurt, right? If he plays and Aaron Rodgers,
St. Brown dropped a 2-point conversion.
Aaron Rodgers got sacked in that game 5 times. Aaron Rodgers balled out in that game, except for, obviously, when he shit the bed in the red zone because he was trying to force the ball to Davante Adams. You know why he was trying to force the ball to Davante Adams? Because he never fully got on the same page as MVS. Just never was a thing. I wish it would have happened because I always liked MVS, friend of show. Remember, he was walking his dog while on the show. You had EQ St. Brown, who's below replacement level in the NFL. You had... who? So my point is, he doesn't force the ball to Davante, and nobody could ever complain about that. If fucking T. Higgins is on the other side. And you know how I know this for a fact? Because I watched T. Higgins doing the fucking playoffs for the Bengals and playing a Super Bowl. So fuck off, Tyler.
No, that's the thing about Jordan Love is
I long to be loved.
We did not like the pick. And I think that had they drafted a T. Higgins or a guy that would help, I mean, they were on the doorstep of the Super Bowl, and they took long-term over short-term, which is fine, but we were so close that we thought, get a guy. The receivers after Davante sucked, you know? Mm-hmm. And so we thought, okay, another weapon would be good. And then I don't know, when Love first got drafted, I said the way that this is a success is Love has to win a Super Bowl, but so does Rodgers. Rodgers needs to win another Super Bowl because you essentially borrowed from some of the, could they have won a Super Bowl if they drafted something? If they never drafted Jordan Love, could they have won a Super Bowl? We'll never know. But I think when they drafted Love, they gave up that 4th round pick. And they drafted A.J. Dillon a round higher, and they drafted Josiah DeGuara 4 rounds higher before he was going to go. So I've always argued that by taking Love, you could have had a guy in the 1st and 2nd. We forget that a 4th round pick got traded, and then A.J. Dillon was never going to go in the 2nd round. DeGuara was never going in the 3rd. So you cost yourself almost twice. Now, that being said, I can still think that I didn't like the pick if they were going to win a Super Bowl, but then, think that, Jordan Love can be good. And I do think Jordan Love can be good. And I don't know that we have enough, like, we're trying to dissect these passes from weird angles in scrimmage. And it's like, we need to see him against the Bears. And I think everybody thinks he's going to throw like 2 touchdowns or 1 interception and have like 210 yards and look like a total system QB. I just don't think people are ready for, what if Jordan Love throws 4 TDs? What if Jordan Love is that good? I don't think that we've prepared for that.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually okay, so back then I wanted T. Higgins, but I mean, I would probably walk back even. I'm always going to bring that up as far as like why Rodgers didn't win another Super Bowl, just because I thought that there were some moves that they could have made for him. But now, like, long term, they made the right decision. And I kind of disagree now. I always said, yeah, Jordan Love has to, he has to win 2 Super Bowls, or he has to win a Super Bowl, since Aaron Rodgers did that. But I've kind of changed my mind on that, right? Because, I mean, Rodgers only won 1, and people will always use that against him for his time in Green Bay. And same thing with Brett, which I know is, Brett sucks now off the field, but I loved him growing up. But growing up, like, I love both of those quarterbacks, and every season to me was fun. Not so much the shitty seasons where they missed the playoffs and both of those guys played hero ball. Like the last year of Rodgers, I was just kind of ready to move on. Like I said on this podcast, there was a couple years of Favre where I was ready to move on, and I kind of wanted to see Rodgers. That's why it was easier for me to make that transition. But it's so hard for me to be like, fucking Brett was a choke artist, because, he had some good defenses, but all the time in the playoffs, it wasn't always his fault. You know what I mean? Like they lost some really close games. They lost like, 4th and 26 and shit. Like he couldn't have done anything more, and they probably should have traded Aaron Rodgers for Randy Moss, for him, but they made the right decision there. Green Bay usually makes the right decisions. And, Rodgers probably could have won a couple more Super Bowls. If Brandon Bostic doesn't jump in front of Jordy Nelson and they go to that Super Bowl, they probably win, man. He has another week to heal up. Let's remember how hurt he was, right? If a punt and a kick aren't blocked against San Francisco and we get the Rams the next week at Lambeau, we just beat them the year before in the playoffs. I don't think anything changes. I don't think Matthew Stafford changes that, as much as I like Matthew Stafford. Rodgers, that could have been 2 right there. You know what I mean? Like, let's say they had a better defense when Darius Gunter is covering Julio Jones in an NFC Championship game. That team had no business being there. So it's hard to say, oh, Rodgers only won 1 ring. It's just like, oh, the Packers won 1 ring. So let's say Jordan Love goes to 8 Pro Bowls and he's really good, but they have the same issues that like last year. We're like top 10 defense. And then it's like, oh no, 28th against the run again. No, they can't cover a simple crossing route. Every tight end kills them. Kyle Rudolph kills them. And I can't really fault Jordan Love for that. So I don't know. I feel pretty good about Jordan Love. I feel like I don't want to, he's got to show something this year. He can't be like a project this year. Everybody's like, we got to see what we have, but also we got to remember it's his first year. It's his first year, but he's not a rookie. He was a first-round pick that you moved up to draft. But when I think about it, it was probably
he's got to be good,
because I would rather have Jordan Love, and I feel better about Jordan Love than anybody like other than Bryce Young as far as this year, because it ended a disaster with Rodgers. And if you weren't going to make Devontae happy and Rodgers was going to want out, I would rather have Jordan Love than this like obsession that people have with Sean Clifford, who sure he could be a serviceable backup, but I never want him.
That shit's fake. That there's nobody's really.
I know, but like, you know what I mean? I would rather have Jordan Love than Will Levis. I would rather have Jordan Love than Anthony Richardson. Yes, I would. I would rather probably have Jordan Love than CJ Stroud. So, it's probably the right decision. Wish they would have went T. Higgins because I wanted more Super Bowls for Rodgers. He's my favorite quarterback of all time. Justin Fields is not my favorite quarterback. Everybody in the world knows that Aaron Rodgers is still my favorite quarterback. And it's fine. I could root for the Jets and I could root for the Packers because one's in the AFC, one's in the NFC. And as soon as Rodgers retires, I'll never think about the Jets ever again. But I want him. If the Packers aren't going to win a Super Bowl this year, I want Aaron Rodgers, Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, Adrian Amos, and fucking
Billy Turner,
Tim Boyle, Tim Boyle to win a Super Bowl if the Packers can't. And also, everybody keeps focusing one last thing on how it's like, oh no, fuck the Jets. We want the Jets to suck because we want the better draft pick. Trust me, it's not going to matter. Gutekunst is going to draft like some dude from Iowa that doesn't even start until week 4 with slick back hair and huge muscles, or a running back with huge legs. So it doesn't matter. You're going to get the same dude anyway. And you also, what you want is the Jets to be good and to find a way to protect Aaron Rodgers with that shitty offensive line. Because don't they need him to play like 65% of the snaps? And on
I
hard
don't
knocks,
even care about that.
exactly. Like, I just want Jordan Love to be good. Here's why I bet the Packers over 7.5 wins. And this is my favorite bet. The Bears defense, I still think, is shit. I mean, they spent a bunch of money on linebackers in the year 2023. If Gutekunst's draft picks live up to the hype, all 8 or whatever the fuck on defense, this team, that should be a top 10 defense like we said last year.
Well, I was talking to Eric Eager, who he said something. He's like, every time we do this with a defense where they're really young and look good on paper, it's usually the next year when they actually are good. And so, because I thought last year, I said there's going to be a handful of times where you call whoever like you associate with being a Packer fan. Like I'd call my dad and say, like, I just can't believe how good this defense is. I thought this defense was going to be legendary. And he's saying, well, when that happens, it usually like takes a year. And I know they got to figure out what to do at safety and whatever, but the defense on paper like does look really good. I don't understand how the defense could suck. If the defense sucks, Joe Barry's the biggest idiot of all time.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think the defense will suck. That's why I think, maybe they do end up winning the NFC.
If you can't take these guys and make a capable defense out of them, you might as well not have a defensive coordinator.
Well, and that was the problem is like last year, for example, the defensive backs were playing 10 yards off the ball. And then in the exit interviews, Joe Barry, they played better towards the end of the season, but also I didn't want to take away too much because they played some shitty quarterbacks, but they did. Like the last 5-6 weeks of the season, the defense gave them a shot to make the playoffs. The offense just didn't do their job. But in the exit interviews, Joe Barry talked to everybody and he was like, what could I do differently? And this year they want to be more physical. And we saw that in the preseason. Like they're going to get up at the line of scrimmage. They're going to play more press man coverage. And that's what we all want, right? And also, like, they weren't healthy last year. Devondre Campbell regressed. He also missed 4 games and then just wasn't the same player. Rashawn Gary is obviously a huge loss when you lose him. He's your best pass rusher. Preston Smith regressed. He should have a better year this year. Kenny Clark had his worst season as a pro. Now you're going to move him, out of position. He should have a bounce back season. Dean Lowry's finally gone. Like, Dean Lowry was solid those first 3 years as a run defender, but like, then Dean Lowry's just been below replacement shit for the last couple of years. Let's all be honest here. I feel a little bit better about Quay as long as he doesn't punch an assistant coach or a trainer on the field. And we'll see what we get from Wyatt, if he could stay healthy this season. I think his issue was just like the same issue that a lot of those SEC guys got when they moved to the Midwest. They're just not used to that cold weather. That's a bitch for a dude that's lived in the South for his entire life. I still think he's going to be a good player. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I love Jaden Reed. And he's everything that I've wanted because, we talked about this every time we did a show together when they would do the pre-snap motion stuff and they would have their gadget guy. It's like, yeah, this is cute, but does Tyler Ervin really threaten a defense? Jaden Reed, I loved him at Michigan State. Yeah, I like Torrey. Who I really can't wait to see? And I want to see the Rasul Douglas safety project because I think they need to find a way to get Valentine on the field. And I know it's only the preseason. I want a bigger sample size. But I was listening to there's a good podcast that I listen to every once in a while, Bet the Board, and they have this doctor on, and he was talking about the Packers team injuries, and he brought up Eric Stokes, and he said that he wouldn't be shocked if Stokes wasn't available fully till week 4, and that he probably wouldn't be himself until like week 10, week 12. It's just a tough injury for a defensive back to come back from. So if he's not going to be himself, I want to see more of Valentine, him, Jair, I don't know what Savage is. I know he's looked, I guess, a little bit better at camp. I'm not there. I could just read the tweets, but I'm almost done with him. It's been 2 really shitty years after a decent rookie year. And then, we'll see what we get from the other dudes, Ford and them. Ford was pretty good. He was probably their 4th best defensive player actually last year, if you look at the grades. So I feel good about this team as long as Jordan Love's not a complete disaster, and he shouldn't be. I do think there'll be some mistakes, but I'm cool with that. He could throw some picks. I would rather Jordan Love have some Favre in him than, I want him to be smart with the football, but every once in a while, some of those years with Rodgers where he wasn't really Rodgers, he would just hang on to the damn ball for too long. And he better not do that this year with the Jets, or he may die by week 3 with that shitty ass offensive line, unless they trade for Bakhtiari, of course.
So what do you think about realignment?
Hate it. What about you?
Let me tell you, UCLA's schedule this year.
Yeah.
This is UCLA's schedule this year. Coastal Carolina, non-conference. They won't play them again. At San Diego State, they're not going to play them again. NC Central, I don't even know what that is. At Utah's going to be in the Big 12 next year. At Washington, they're going to the Big 10. At Oregon State, they're going to be in they don't have a conference. At Stanford, they are fucked. Colorado, Big 12. Arizona, Big 12. Arizona State, Big 12. USC, Big 10. And Cal. They're fucked. So there's 2 teams on this schedule. Shit, I only thought it was 1.
With what?
Well, no, they play Washington State. Yeah, they don't play Washington. Yeah, 1 team on this whole schedule. I said Washington State, I meant. 1 team on this whole schedule that they might even possibly, they'll play USC next year. So 1 game on the schedule that they're going to play next year. That's so bonkers. Because I just named everybody in like all these. I hate it. I hate it because I think the biggest reason I hate it, Oregon and Rutgers having to play and sending their volleyball teams. Like, what are we doing? This is fucked. I don't think that you can separate football either because they're like the money makers. Yeah. The problem is it's never going to end. Like, we're not going to get to a final. This is it. There's been Nebraska goes here and the Big East dissolves. And now all of a sudden Colorado wanted to jump and USC. And then it's just going to be like next year, I think Florida State's going to go somewhere. Yeah. Clemson's going to leave. And then you're going to have these conferences be like, the SEC is going to be like, why do we have Vanderbilt? And the Big Ten is going to be like, we don't really need Rutgers anymore. And then they're going to cut. It's not going to end, which is the problem with me. You can never get if you don't have rivalries, okay, whatever. But you create rivalries by playing the same team over time. And if you're hop, skipping, and jumping conferences all the time, you're never going to get I'm still not accustomed to Texas A&M being an SEC team. And now they're getting Texas A&M next year is going to play Texas in the SEC. That makes no sense.
Yeah, and exactly. And I don't like it. And I called this years ago, though. Ultimately, with NIL money coming in, and it's going to turn into, we've always complained that there's no minor leagues for the National Football League. We're kind of going to see it this year with Brock Bowers, who plays for Georgia. He has no business having to go back and play college football because he would have been a first-round pick. We saw this with Clowney a couple of years ago and Leonard Fournette. And now at least these guys get to make money. They get NIL money. They obviously also take out insurance on themselves because if they do get hurt, think of all the money. That's life-changing money for generations that they're losing out on having to go back to college. So ultimately this becomes the minor leagues. And I think it becomes like the AFC and the NFC, and it's the SEC and it's the Big Ten. Those are going to be the 2 power conferences. The expanded playoffs already here. Everything comes down to money. I've always hated change, though. Growing up as a Notre Dame fan, my favorite rivalry was Michigan, and half my friends were Michigan fans or went to Michigan, and half of us were Notre Dame fans, and so that week was always awesome. And now that rivalry is dead. So I hate it. Also, you think about the other sports. Yeah, in football, we'll get over it in a couple of years when we get awesome matchups, like when Luke Fickell has Wisconsin as the 4th-ranked team in the nation, and USC's number 2, and they're playing on a Saturday night in prime time. We'll be like, you know what? This is freaking cool. But think about it in volleyball. Like you said, man, they should almost just separate this from how they do this for football. Because think of those January trips for women's volleyball, men's basketball, anything though. What is Rutgers going to go and play against USC?
You're going to tell Oregon, okay, you'll basketball, we'll schedule so you're at Rutgers, at Maryland, at Penn State, and it's 1 trip. And you go, well, okay, but also I'm in college to be a nurse.
Right.
And I'm going to miss a week and a half of school. I'm just playing volleyball to be a student athlete and have a career track to be enterprise rent-a-car management trainee.
I hate it, man. And it all comes down to money again. And college football to me, and I know everybody doesn't agree with this, I mean, in the South, they love college football. Like, if you're in Madison, people love the Badgers. But I figured out when I wanted to talk Badgers, like, most people in Milwaukee don't really give a shit. They just started to care about the Bucks when they started to win basketball games.
Milwaukee likes the Badgers when they're
good.
They got to be undefeated, and they have to have they at least got to be like 5-0.
But yeah, exactly. And so, in my opinion, though, college football is a perfect thing. I don't know why you would ever mess with it. The rivalries were perfect. Everything was great. But like everything else, money took over, and TV deals took over, and greed took over. And, like, look at these fucking guys that are running these conferences, dude, too. Like, it's going to come out that half of these guys are shitbags. You know it. I mean, I don't want to be too negative here, but I just feel like all these guys, like these rich owners, like anybody with power ends up being a terrible person. There's a reason why they got that money. It's like Dan Snyder here. He's finally gone, and the people can't stop celebrating. What an awful human being. And he was just able to own an NFL franchise for just years and run it into the ground. But that's like how I see a lot of these old greedy bastards in college football too. Like when I got to cover the sport for a couple of years when I was living in Iowa, and I'd have to go to like Big Ten Media Day and stuff. And you start like seeing some of these people, even like the boosters that are pumping money into these programs. That's what ruins college football. I'm glad the kids are getting paid. I think they deserve it. Some of the endorsements are a little bit ridiculous. Like, I don't know why Arch Manning would need $8 million when his family's fucking loaded already, but whatever.
Like everybody, what's Buddy's last name in Friday Night Lights?
Buddy Garrity?
There's a lot of Buddy Garrity's in the world.
Yeah. The world's run by Buddy Garrity.
Yeah. But they there was one tweet going around Thursday about this high school stadium in Texas. It's a 10,000 seat stadium. It's beautiful. The town has 20,000 people in it. It's got a 10,000 seat football stadium.
Well, yeah, dude. Did you watch that? I mean, did you watch the Johnny Manziel Netflix thing? Like, that's
no, not yet.
I've always been obsessed with Texas football. I read like Friday Night Lights, and because I'm a loser and I love college football. Again, this is why I fall in love with guys like T. Higgins and stuff, because I follow like the pipeline and the recruiting. I used to, and I'm not gonna lie, I still do, but I don't do like the message boards and stuff anymore. But yeah, I like to know who's going to be good in a decade. Helps you, especially if you bet games for a living.
So what are some college bets I should do? I think I bookmarked somewhere you did it over under like in May. And I bookmarked it because I was going to go to Pato and play them all.
Well, so I'm actually going to be doing, and you could listen to this show in Milwaukee. Even you, Tyler. Actually, you live in Chicago. Boo, scat. What do we call people that live in Chicago, Bart?
Fibs.
Yeah, Tyler, the fib. Not me, though. I don't live in Chicago. I'm here in beautiful Maryland.
Wait, so you're going to have a weekend show that's going to air on 1250.
Oh, yeah. So help me with this.
I do weekends, and it doesn't air on 1250. Because 1250 airs BetQL on the weekends.
So see, I didn't know this because I don't work the weekends usually, but I wanted to do a college football show, and they signed off on it. It begins next Saturday, week 0, 9 to 10 my time, which is what time your guys, Bart? 8 to 9?
Yeah.
8 a.m. to 9 a.m. All right. It's the BetQL kickoff, college football. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be hosting, and I'm going to be giving, my favorite plays. Just trying to help people, bet smarter. Anyway, on all that, though, but because it doesn't start until week 0.
I need a little more from week 0.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we'll get to that in a second. I mean, I like Navy. Is 22.5-point dogs.
No, Navy at Notre Dame overseas. That's cool. But then in prime time, it's either UMass at New Mexico State or Ohio at San Diego State. USC hosts San Jose State, but that's on Pac-12 network. No one gets that.
Yeah, nobody gets that. And that's going to be just an ass beating anyway. I mean,
what should those 4 teams do?
What?
The Pac-12 teams that are left.
Dude, I mean, that's the thing. Like, and Stanford is so awful right now as well, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I have no idea what happens with those teams. I mean, the ACC, I guess, right? That's probably their best bet. I
They
don't know.
want them. There was one guy who tweeted, Pac-12 should grab the best football schools from the American and Mountain West Conference. So their conference would be Stanford, Cal, Washington State, Oregon State, Memphis, SMU, South Florida, Tulane, Boise State, UNLV, Colorado State, San Diego State. That's not a Power 5 conference.
Yeah, no.
And then you got see, it's like no one in Florida should be playing anyone on the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah. I mean, who gives? Yeah, fuck those teams, to be honest. I got your game of the day and your bet of the day, actually, for week 0. I'll give it to you right now, actually. I love UTEP this season, and they are now 1-point favorites on the road against Jacksonville State. This game kicks off 5:30 p.m. my time, right? And I got UTEP this season actually over 5 wins. So we could actually just start there because you asked for one of my favorite college football bets. Let me make sure it's still 5. It is. Oh, nope. Now it's 5.5. It's minus 135. So UTEP over 5.5 wins. I like this one. I like them week 1 -1. They're 10-1 right now to win Conference USA. I bet that as well. Western Kentucky's the favorite. They're plus 125, which makes sense. They bring back their quarterback, who's awesome, Austin Reed, and most of their playmakers on offense. But they only have 4 starters back on defense. UTEP this season, their win total, again, only 5.5. 15 returning starters. They get Western Kentucky at home in the biggest game of the season. They also play Liberty, who's the second best team that they'll see. They won 5 games last season. They were 5-7. I think their floor this year is 7 wins, so I can't believe the win total is only 5.5. The road schedule is awesome. They only have 1 conference opponent that had a winning record last season. They bring back their quarterback, Gavin Hardison. He's got a really big arm. Their running back, Deion Hankins, is back. Their top receiver, Tyron Smith. He actually went and was at Texas A&M for like 2 weeks. He could be a pro. And then he went back to UTEP for whatever reason. They have the best offensive line in the conference. 4 starters are back. 7 starters back on defense. I love their coach. And I like them a lot this season. So over 5.5 wins, and I like them -1 week 1. I'll just give you all of them if you want. I bet South Carolina under 6.5. Look at that schedule. Spencer Rattler looked pretty good to close out the season. He should be fine. I don't know that he's going to end up being a first-round pick like we projected, but that defense, there's only a couple starters back. That's a terrible schedule. I don't think they get to 7 wins. So I went under 6.5 on
Just
South.
rip them all off.
All right. Arizona State under 5. Arizona under 5.5.
Wow.
Wisconsin over 8.5. Really big. Really big. Miami over 7.5. Maryland over 6.5. Here's my favorite in the ACC. Pitt over 6.5. I'd play that over 7. Texas State over 4.5.
Texas State.
Just don't ask no questions on that one.
What is Texas State?
4.5 wins. They're going to win at least 5 games. We'll get to that in a second here. Kansas, I bet under 6.5.
Oh.
But now it went down to 5.5. So I would stay away from that. But 6.5
what is Texas State?
We'll get to them in a second. You said rattle them all off. Buffalo under 7. Memphis over 7.5. San Jose State over 5.5. Here's a big one. Florida Atlantic over 7 wins. Tom Herman's the coach there now. I think they win the conference. I think they win 10 games. Florida State over 9.5. Clemson over 9.5, and Clemson to win the ACC and national title. Texas over 9.5. Wow. Texas plus 110.
You got Dabo's back. He's spent the last 3 years bitching about not being the champion.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley's brother's the play caller there now. Cade Klubnik's the quarterback. He's a 5-star. I don't love the wide receiver room. Somebody will step up, but I like the running backs. Will Shipley's back. Really good defense. I think they beat what's that?
What's the kid's name? Nick Sweeney still there or whatever? They always put him in when they're up 69-0.
I have no idea. Oh, I don't know if he's still there. I hope not. Oklahoma over 9.5, Vanderbilt over 3.5, Nebraska under 6.5, South Carolina under.
You got
6.
money on all of these?
All those. Heisman. Marvin Harrison Jr., 35-1. We haven't seen a wide receiver win the award since Devontae Smith. You go back, you look at his numbers that year. I think Marvin Harrison is going to put up bigger numbers, and I don't think Kyle fucking McCord is going to be the Heisman. So I bet him. I bet Jaden Daniels at 18-1, but he's down to 9-1. I wouldn't bet anything like that. I'd wait until maybe like week 3 or week 4, see if he could get a better number. And yeah, that's what I got in college football. Love Wisconsin this year. I think that they could be like a sneaky college football playoff team, or they could really fuck me out of a lot of money. But I think their floor is 10 wins, right? Like you look at their schedule, dude, and your toughest game in the West Division is against Iowa, and you get that game at Camp Randall. You get that game at home. I like Tanner Mordecai. I know he looked like dog shit in the spring game. He threw 4 picks, but we got to remember it's a completely new offense. Braylon Allen's back. They're still going to pound the football. Not your typical Wisconsin defensive line, but Luke Fickell really coaches up talent. I think that they're going to be a really sneaky team, and I love Wisconsin this year. Also, last night I want to throw this out there. I haven't told anybody about this. I bet Penn State 18-1 to win the national title. I think like we talk about Michigan. Yeah, Penn State's defense. I don't know if their defense is as good as Michigan's, but it's pretty freaking good. They also got this really good transfer, Chop from Maryland, who had 5.5 sacks for Maryland last year. So they get better on defense. Even though they lose like a defensive back like Joey Porter Jr., their secondary might be even better this year. And then offensively, I think they upgraded quarterback. Sorry, Sean Clifford fans. I think Drew Aller is a way better quarterback. And everybody talks about Michigan's running back room, and I get it because Blake Corum's the man, and Donovan Edwards completely torched Ohio State, had over 100 yards against TCU in that playoff loss. But Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, Penn State's running back room might be better than Michigan's. I think their running backs end up being better.
Man, if this is a preview for your college show, it's information overload.
Well, I mean, I'm going to have still tons of shit because I'm going to be betting like all types of weird stuff. So Penn State win the national title 18-1. I just really like the price. I mean, because Ohio State's 6-1 and Michigan's 7-1, and I'm like, wait a minute. Like Penn State gets some of these games at home, at Happy Valley. I could see them beating Michigan at home, dude. And I could see Ohio State beating Michigan. Because is Ryan Day really going to lose to Harbaugh 3 years in a row? If he does, Harbaugh's going to the NFL next year, guaranteed.
Harbaugh's going to the NFL anyway to get out of his suspension.
You know what? That's fucking bullshit. And I'm not even the biggest Harbaugh guy, but he bought a couple kids a goddamn cheeseburger.
But it was during COVID protocol.
Yeah, but like we all had to eat, Bart.
We did. And who's going to turn down a free burger?
Exactly. I would argue that was the time that we needed burgers more than ever. Like when Mike McCarthy needed football more.
We don't always need burgers.
Oh, can we talk Dallas Cowboys really quick? I bet them to win the Super Bowl.
Good. They're good.
They're going to win that division. The Eagles, I don't know if they're going to be like a complete disappointment, but I think they're like a 10-win team. I think that's going to be the big shock in the
NFC.
NFC.
He's going to win Rodgers McCarthy week 2.
McCarthy is going to get his revenge. Yeah. How is that offensive line going to block Micah Parsons or any of those dudes up front? You know what I'm saying?
How am I rooting for Mike McCarthy over Aaron Rodgers? How did that happen?
You're not watching You don't like Aaron Rodgers on Hard Knocks? I think he's hilarious.
I like Aaron Rodgers on Hard Knocks just fine. I don't like that he is doing all these things with the Jets that he didn't do with the Packers, like take a pay cut.
Oh. Well, I think he would have.
And like his young receivers.
I think he would have if they would have taken care of Devontae.
How did that magician do what he did? That's fucked up.
I need to know that.
Especially the Super Bowl prediction one.
Yeah, that was insane. That Super Bowl prediction was wrong, though, because the 49ers don't have a quarterback. But Dallas does. I think Dak balls out this year. I love the Brandon Cooks pickup. And I think Michael Gallup maybe bounces back. That first year after a torn ACL, which is kind of what worries me about Rashawn Gary a little bit, just for pass rushers, there's usually a little bit of drop. And then like the second half of the season or that second year off that injury is usually when you bounce back. So if you have Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Cooks, now there's no fucking Zeke to take away the carries from Tony Pollard. I think Dak is so pissed off about his picks last year that he goes under 12.5 picks. That's another thing I like. And I think the defense is even better. Parsons is awesome, and they brought in Stephon Gilmore, who in 2019 was the defensive player of the year. I know he's another year older, but he was really solid, graded out pretty well last year. So I like Dallas this year a lot. And I don't care that McCarthy's calling the plays. I want him to be calling the plays because I want them to run the ball with Tony Pollard.
We will do picks with Horvat throughout the season. We're going to aim to air those on Thursdays so we can actually do the Thursday game.
Yeah, that's the plan this year.
Or I'll record them and then give the Thursday game and then save the rest for Friday.
You could do that. You could just toss
that.
it on there, like the Thursday preview, and then here's the picks for Friday.
Yeah, but we'll record on Wednesdays.
Yeah. The good thing about, though, giving out the picks like by Friday is we get them in before the final injury report so we don't bet shitty numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if Jordan Love, for whatever reason, never catches COVID, I don't want to lay 3 points with the Packers with your boy Sean Clifford. Hey, and could you guys here's my biggest fear for this season. All right. Me and Sparky on Kurt and Long did confident, curious,
concerned.
And I said, I'm confident that the Packers are going to win 8 games. I'm curious to see if Jordan Love could be as good as he's looked this summer. And I'm concerned about, I want to root for my fucking team this year and enjoy the season if Jordan Love is good. I don't really need like people like, oh, Horvat, you wanted to win a Super Bowl for your favorite player all time. You hated the pick. I never hated Jordan Love. I didn't want Jordan Love to be drafted that season by my team because I wanted help for the team that had just played in the NFC title game and got shit on by the 49ers. So hopefully everybody has mercy on me because I'm with you guys. I got my Jordan Love jersey. I got the white. I got the green. I got the fucking throwback. I got my shirt. I cut off the sleeves of one. I've been wearing it to the gym, pumping 21s. Everybody's like, hey, you think Jordan Love's going to be good? And I say, fuck yeah, way better than Sam Howell, you losers. Fuck the Commanders. But listen to Toby anytime he's on the fan. Kid's doing a great job. Went to a Nationals game with Toby, got hammered. His team beat my team because everybody beats up on the Cubs. I keep getting excited. I'm like, oh, man. Oh, yeah, and here's another thing Tyler could shit on, Tyler in Chicago. I am a Cub fan, though. Why don't you guys just die, okay? Like, the Cubs get the White Sox, who are a dumpster fire. You guys go to Los Angeles to play the Dodgers, who all of a sudden are the best team in baseball right behind the Braves. Cubs can make up some ground on you guys. Well, I guess they did actually win last night. They hit the walk-off grand slam. But still 2.5 games back.
Wednesday.
I'd be worried if I was you guys just because of your upcoming schedule. You get the Rangers, I believe, right? The Cubs get to feast on some dog shit teams. So you guys better take care of business against better teams. And then we get that series against each other. I hate the new schedule, to be honest, in Major League Baseball.
Brewers they didn't play the Reds after the All-Star break once.
We don't get the Cubs don't get the Cardinals. And this is the year I want the Cardinals because they're dog shit and I hate all their fans.
Hey, you don't get to make up ground on the teams in front of you.
Yeah, the only Cardinal fan I like is Matt Pauley because he came on my show on a Saturday one time. All the rest of them. But hey, I'll be rooting for you guys to be a wild card team. Is that cool? We just win the division. We deserve it.
I desperately have to go to the bathroom.
All right, man. I'll see you. Peace.
Live post-game show Saturday night.
I'll be there.